Okay, good morning. Welcome from my home in Canada. I'm Joanna. I'll be guiding you for the next 45 minutes. I just wanted to check in first to make sure that you can hear and see everything okay. You'll see on my mat, I currently have a blanket. You'll also need a bolster, 2 blocks if you have them. If you don't, you can always grab some extra cushions off the couch or bed, or use books as makeshift blocks. So feel free to grab those. This practice today is a yin yoga class for the holiday season. So we're going to get into some nice long holds and slow things right down. So I'll meet you on your mat. Make sure you have all your props to hand and we will settle in together. We're going to meet in Sukhasana, a tall, comfortable seat. Okay, once you've found Sukhasana, you might be sitting on a prop, you might be sitting directly on the floor. I'll leave that to you. And you might choose to have your legs crossed or legs extended. You might choose to start your practice sitting in a chair or leaning against a wall. Whatever is a comfortable grounding position for you, that is where we will begin. You can rest your hands on your body, you can rest your hands on the earth if that feels more grounding. You can have your eyes softly open and looking down to the floor, or you can close your eyes. So, welcome to your practice. This is Yin Yoga for the holiday season. So, the intention for this practice today is to slow down, to move inward, and dissolve external stimuli and distraction that is all around us at this time. This practice is an opportunity for you to recharge your batteries, to draw energy back towards yourself, to be in a place of process and reflection, and to allow you to show up with more presence, allow you to show up in a place that is calm and non-reactive. So this practice today is not anything other than necessary. It is not selfish to be on your mat. It is not selfish to take time out during this season for yourself. It is vitally important. So feel free to come back to this class over and over during this holiday season. You can either start as you are, wherever your hands may be landing, or rest your hands now in Yoni Mudra, so thumbs and index fingers touching, making a little triangle shape with your hands, and just placing those hands on your lower belly. With the shoulders softly relaxed, invite your breath into your lower belly to help with grounding and anchoring the pelvis to the floor. And to help us with massaging the digestive system and dropping our awareness and attention down into this region of the body, the second brain, the gut, that place of instinct and knowing and intuition. As your breath rises and falls here, just start to check in with yourself and see how you're doing, how you're feeling, what you're needing from your practice. And these are just simple observations, they are not judgments. And can we spend a moment here in gratitude, recognizing ourselves, carving out time in our day for this type of practice to support our wellness. May there be a sense of contentment and appreciation for this time. And let us together now deepen our breath. So filling up on the inhale in through the nose. And a smooth cleansing exhale from the mouth. And again, in through the nose. And out through the mouth. One more time in. And out. And just moving into a soft, steady, regular breath. Beginning to wiggle your fingers and toes. Roll your wrists. Move your head a little side to side. Take a nice big stretch of your arms as you inhale. And exhale, land your hands back to your thighs. Let's begin with a seated cat-cow. So as you inhale, tilt your tailbone back. Bring your belly and chest forwards and lift your chin. And as you exhale, round your spine, drawing your tailbone forwards, looking towards your belly button. Let's do this twice more, starting the movement from the tailbone all the way up to the crown of the head. And exhale to round. Last cycle, use your whole breath in to complete the movement. And exhale to round. Come back to a neutral spine. Take a big breath in. And a smooth breath out. If you're sitting on any props now, just gently remove them from under you. And let's extend our legs forwards and long. Start to just wiggle your toes around and roll your ankles a little here, maybe leaning back into your hands. Maybe rock the legs side to side. Just connecting to how the body is feeling in this moment before we get into these longer holds. Now our first shape today will be deer pose. I will give an option for recline thread the needle as well. But if you're comfortable with deer pose, you're facing the front of your mat. You're bending both of your knees and leaning into your right hand and right hip and swinging both of your legs around to the left. You'll want your right leg in front of you with your right foot flexed, and your left leg is behind you with the left foot relaxed. If you have knee sensitivity, you might put a blanket under the left knee. And for the right knee, if there is sensitivity there, you could always add some of your props under the knee or under the hip. This right heel can be as close to your midline as you need it, or some of you might work that right heel towards more of a 90-degree angle with that front leg, almost having your right shin bone parallel with the front edge of your mat. Your hips are facing forwards, as is your chest, and your hands are on the floor by your sides. You'll roll your shoulders up, back, and down, and inhale your breath. Now you might begin here, you might stay here. This might be enough sensation in your pelvis. Or option to hinge forwards at your hips, keeping your spine long, walking your hands along the mat. Some of you might bring your bolster or blocks in front of you so that your forearms have something to rest on. Or if your forearms are on the floor, maybe your block would be nice for your forehead to rest on. Again, just see how it goes in your body. The stretch here is for the outer right hip and thigh. So making sure you can feel the dull stretch there without any pain. So no sharpness in the joints, no tingling, no numbing. Now, if that shape is just too much pressure for your joints, no problem. You can come onto your back and you can take thread the needle instead. So I'll leave those of you in deer pose that are quite content there. If you're coming onto your back, lie all the way down, have your feet to the floor, knees bent, and then extend just your right leg into the sky, right foot flexed. Externally rotate your right leg and then cross your right ankle onto your left thigh. Here you are in thread the needle. You can keep that left foot on the floor, or you can elevate that left foot onto a block so that your legs come a little bit closer towards you. Or you can actively bring both legs towards you and hold the back of your left hamstring or around your left shin. Right foot flexing, right knee wide, shoulders relaxed. So here we are in our first hold. And as we know in our yin practices, we're holding for time so that we can target more of the fascia, connective tissues that surround muscle and bone, rather than get into those thick, young muscle groups that we can stretch with a lot more ease. So these tissues that we're looking at today are a lot more plastic, a lot more cold, and so they need more time and attention in order to create releases. So here we are, just looking for the stretch, not forcing our way past that point, just applying enough pressure to the body that we're always in an active stretch. It's never passive, but it's also not compromising our breath in any way. Soften your shoulders away from your ears and relax the muscles of the face. And don't be afraid to release those exhale breaths from the mouth whenever you feel them starting to bubble up within you. They are cooling, they are soothing, they are calming. They help us release any stagnant, stale, or pent-up energy. If you're on your backs and thread the needle, and it would feel nice to rock across the back of the pelvic bowl, feel free to add that for a little bit. Moving side to side or in little circular motion. And if you're in deer pose and you're leaning forwards, you also have the option to play with moving your upper body on more of a diagonal line. So right now I guided the chest over the right shin, but what would it feel like if you actively turned your chest to look over your right knee and then started to walk your forearms and forehead closer to the floor on this diagonal line? For some people, this actually is more accessible. For other people, this is going to create a deeper hip stretch. So again, just find the version of these shapes that works and leave the rest. Wherever you are, let's take 5 more deep, long breaths. And after your 5 breaths, if you're in deer pose, walk back up onto your hands and start to lift your chest. If you're on your backs, you can hug your knees into your chest and rock on your back. Friends, coming out of deer pose, lean back into your hands and start to bring your two legs out in front of you and just give your toes a little wiggle, roll the ankles, exhale the breath. Very simply, very mindfully, we're moving to the other side of that. So deer or thread the needle. So deer pose, lean into your left hip and hand, bend both knees and bring the legs around to the right. Pad and support under that right knee if you need to. Bring props in front of you, maybe for your forearms, maybe a prop under your left knee or hip for the left side of the body. Left foot flexing, hips and chest facing forwards, and maybe stay here or lean forwards towards the floor. Friends, on your back, you're taking the left leg into the sky, flexing the left foot, externally rotating that left hip, and then crossing left ankle to right thigh. And know that if you did deer pose on the first side and now it's not feeling so great on the second side, take thread the needle. The body is not symmetrical and we often need very different options from side to side. So just work with that and don't have expectation that the pose is going to look and feel identical on both sides. We know that is not the case. And for a lot of us, the left side of the body, which is our yin side, it is our cooler side of the body, is often our tighter side. So you may be noticing that in this left hip. Just go nice and slow with yourself. That is the theme of the practice. Moving slowly, moving inward and taking fuller, deeper, longer breaths for ourselves. There is so much beauty and profoundness in quiet solitude. It is the time for processing. It is the time when we can gather inspiration and clarity. So give yourself full permission for this. There is nothing else to be doing, nowhere else to be. This is it, right here. Remember those options to either rock on your, or if you're in deer pose, maybe you're turning your body onto a diagonal line towards the left. And maybe you're leaning forwards over that left shin instead, left thigh instead. Maybe that feels more accessible. Maybe that adds a level of challenge to the shape. Five more breaths wherever you are. And then slow and steady, coming all the way back to center. If you're on your backs, hugging your knees towards your chest. If you're seated, bringing your legs in front of you and extending them long. Wiggling your toes, rolling your ankles, leaning back into your hands, exhaling your breath. Friends, on your backs, gently roll to one side now. We're going to meet in a seated forward fold. So once you're upright, you might choose to sit up on a prop to elevate the hips and to help with tilting the pelvic bowl in a forwards direction. So sitting right on the edge of that block will help tilt the pelvis forwards. And then option to place your bolster or rolled up blanket under your knees for a bit of softening to the backs of those legs, especially if the hamstrings or lower back feel particularly tight. You don't have to take these options. You can sit on the floor, have your legs directly straight out in front of you. Check that your legs are your hip distance apart. So don't have the legs too close together because that will create some restriction. And instead, you want to have the hips, your legs, your hip distance apart so that the hips have full range of movement. Hands to thighs, shoulders up, back and down. Inhale your breath, sitting tall. Exhale, draw belly button towards spine and slide your hands down the fronts of your legs, starting to look towards the earth. Now you can either keep your hands on your legs or rest your hands on the earth. Some of you might be reaching your hands towards your feet. If that's the case, just be mindful that you don't start to round the back or bring your shoulders up towards your ears. We want to keep shoulder blades moving down the back of the rib cage, chest and collarbones open, spine long. You're leaning forwards with your heart towards your toes. Sending the breath into the back of your body. This long line of fascia runs from the soles of your feet all the way up to the crown of your head. So you might feel this stretch anywhere from the soles of your feet or up the backs of your legs or up the length of your spine, the back of the neck, or into the crown of the head. It's amazing what this full back body stretch can do. Patiently hinging forwards just till you feel enough sensation. My teacher calls this the Goldilocks position. So not too much force, not too much pressure, but not enough that you can't feel anything. So what is that sweet spot for you? That is where you want to be. That is where you want to stay. And if at any time you notice your body is actually softening and accepting that position, you then might be invited by the body to go a little deeper. See how it goes. Go patient. Let's take 5 more breaths, hinging a little further forwards and into the pose. And then sliding your hands up the fronts of your legs, rolling up through your spine, shoulders rolling up, back, and down. And at the top here, take a big breath in and a full breath out. Release any props from under your body. We're going to start to recline towards the floor. So here I would love to set you up in a gentle supported back bend using your bolster as a support for under your spine. If you know that's not going to be comfortable for you, you can completely come down onto the mat, no problem. If you are using the bolster, feel free as well to add an extra block behind the head. So your bolster will be on more of an incline. This is a great option if you have any dizziness, vertigo, high blood pressure, nausea. You want the head a little higher than the heart. This might work for you. And then feel free to add your blanket onto the floor where your pelvis is going to sit. From here, you'll start to recline all the way down onto your back. So keep the back of your pelvis on the floor and then rest the rest of your spine to your prop, including the back of your head. Make sure that this feels comfortable for you. And then decide what to do with your legs. So you can either choose recline butterfly, soles of the feet together, knees wide, using any extra blocks for under your knees or under your hips if you need that. If this feels too wide, too open, then you can keep your feet to the floor and take your feet as wide as your mat and let your knees rest into one another. This provides a nice lower back and hip release. Or the other option is to simply extend your legs long and wide in Shavasana. Options for your hands and arms. You can either rest your hands on your lower belly, maybe coming back into Yoni Mudra with your thumbs and index fingers connected, hands to lower belly, elbows relaxed on the floor. And this can help us to breathe more into that space of the lower belly and connect to how we're feeling in that place of the body. If that doesn't feel great, maybe hands just rest simply on the inner thighs for weight. Or you could have your arms, palms facing up, arms nice and wide, elbows soft. This will create more of a stretch across your chest and pectoral muscles and under your arms and around your heart. Just see how that goes for you. That is a deeper opening, so just be mindful if you have any sensitivity in the upper back or around your shoulders or chest. Check in that the back of your neck is long, so try not to allow there to be any compression there. So if you feel like the back of your neck feels a bit squished, perhaps add an extra block under the head. This is a beautiful opening for the front lines of the body. So into the heart and chest, into the lower belly, into the front of the pelvis. So do your best here to breathe full breaths into those lines. And then when your exhale breaths come along, can you exhale a bit heavier and deeper into the back of your body? And if it feels nice to add any little movements here, so maybe some little shoulder rolls would feel good, or hands to shoulders and circling the elbows, or floating your arms all the way up to the sky and all the way back behind you, and then maybe taking the arms nice and long and wide. See how any of that goes. See if that adds to the quality of being here, creates a gentle massage into the shoulders and upper back and chest. Or see if you prefer to just remain nice and still and quiet. We're just going to spend 5 more breaths here. If your legs are in butterfly, bring your hands to the outsides of your legs and carefully bring your knees back together. If your legs are in Shavasana, bend your knees and place your feet to the mat. Take a full breath in and a smooth breath out. From here, we are going to remove our props with as little effort as we can. So you can either lift yourself up or you can roll to one side and just slide the props off the mat. Come all the way back down. Exhale your breath and just enjoy the floor for a few breaths. Notice how this feels as breath expands into the back of your lungs. Notice if your back feels more spacious or light, or maybe even heavier into the floor, maybe wider. And then we're going to move into a 2-knee twist. So shifting the hips a little bit to the left and then lowering the 2 knees to the right. You might find you want to put your bolster between your knees or under your knees. You might rest your hands on the top of your body, or you might open your arms wide across the floor with your palms facing up. You might be looking towards the sky. You might be looking to the left. Twists are a wonderful way to decompress. They offer a massage to your digestive system, your respiratory system, your nervous system. Check that your body feels heavy and weighted into the floor. You're not resisting the floor, you're relaxing into it. And check that your breath can travel freely from the back of your nose all the way down the length of your spine to your tailbone without any restriction. Perhaps checking in with yourself in this moment, seeing how your body is decompressing, how your body and mind might be starting to slow down a little more now. Notice how the practice is benefiting you. Just take 5 more breaths on this side. Engage your core and slowly bring your legs back to center and find the middle of your mat with your whole back. Take a big breath in and a full breath out. And then gently shift your hips to the right and lower your knees to the left for that two-knee twist on the other side. Hands close to body or arms wide across the floor, either looking up to the sky or looking to the right. Heavy, relaxed body sinking deeper into your mat, dissolving any residing tension away from your body and down into the floor. With every exhale breath, you're sinking a little heavier, a little softer, moving deeper into that place of contentment and gratitude, that place of slowness and quiet. Five more breaths. And then with your core engaged, come all the way back to center. Exhale in a neutral spine. And then preparing your body for Shavasana. Legs long and wide, perhaps with a bolster under the knees, arms wide with the palms face up. Maybe a block behind the head or a blanket and eye pillow over the body. Settling into quiet solitude, the ultimate gift to ourselves, the ultimate slowness. Acknowledging no more is to be done. And here we rest. I will call you from Shavasana when it's time. If you have longer to dedicate to your Shavasana today, then please stay as you are. However, if it is time for you to come out, start to deepen your breath and begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. Roll your wrists and ankles and take a full body stretch as you next inhale. As you exhale, hug your knees into your chest and rock on your back. Rolling onto your side for a couple of breaths. And then moving all the way up to a tall seat of Sukhasana. Resting your hands either back on your thighs or in Anjali Mudra at the center of your chest, and symbol of offering and devotion to your body, to your practice, to this time. Check in with yourself and see how you are, how this practice has served you today. Let us close with a sealing breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. May this season be filled with moments of quiet and solitude, slowness and recharge. We are all worthy. We are all doing more than enough. Give yourself the gift of time. Give yourself the gift of quiet, the gift of peace. It's my pleasure to guide you. Namaste.